This is our league, and this is your league. From the 55-yard line on CFL America Radio and the Sports History Network.
Stand by, 15 seconds to air. Stand by all cameras and videotape.
Ready with your opening graphics. Stand by, Howard. Here we come, Frank. Ready, Don.
Stand by audio, your opening music, and roll tape.
Take tape.
The Chargers let it be known they called Eli Manning's agent, Tom Condon, last week to open negotiations with his client, and the response was, in essence, no.
I will confirm what the Chargers said last night. I will admit I was a little surprised that they went public with that.
Will you be happy if the Chargers end up picking him on Saturday? Happy?
No. As far as reasons why, I'm not going to go there.
National Football League selection meeting is now in session.
Pittsburgh selects Lynn Swan.
Wither Boomer. I mean, is he going to go in the first round at all? That's why the Colts are picking second every year. Who in the hell is Mel Kiper?
The Chargers select Eli Manning.
The 2004 NFL Draft was a media event like never before. The television ratings were 25% higher than 2003 and closing in on beating the NBA playoffs. 6 of the top picks were invited to New York.
I still like Eli. I still like it.
For the first time, cameras captured their every move.
All right, can we get that?
Some of the footage has never been seen until now.
#1 overall pick on D-Hall TV. Yeah, come on, man. We did a total access. I don't want to go to San Diego, too. You couldn't get it right.
The Chargers had the #1 overall pick. They were anticipating drafting and signing Mississippi quarterback Eli Manning when discussions with the Manning camp took an unexpected turn.
Well, initially, it was fine, great, and everything. And then just prior to the draft, we heard that there was a decision made by, I believe, Archie Manning that he didn't want Eli to come to San Diego.
Eli, all those reports that if the Chargers pick you, that you're prepared to sit out the season. Can you just discuss that?
We've made all our comments. My dad is he's going over this. He's said everything that we've talked about and everything's been said, and now it's kind of over with, and I just got to sit and wait and see what happens.
Obviously there was a question as to why, but nobody ever seemed to get an answer.
We've talked about all this and made our comments already, and we're sticking to it.
The speculation was the Mannings were trying to convince San Diego to trade Eli to the New York Giants.
That whole wanting to go to New York got a little misunderstood. It was never wanting to go to New York. There was just, I didn't want to go to one place. I won't say the place, and I don't want to bring up old stories, but there was one place I didn't want to go to, and that was it.
The day before the draft, Eli tried to lay low. The other top projected picks hoped to get a rise out of him.
I can't handle this big city life, can you, big boy?
Tell him your quote one more time.
I'd gladly play in San Diego. He's trying not to smile. Sorry, we finally got a smile out of him once this weekend.
I didn't know A.J. Smith, who was the San Diego general manager. So all I said to him, this is even before Eli made any statement or his agent did, If you're interested in trading out of there, I would be interested. We were 4. We didn't have a long way to go. We were within striking distance. But I didn't have any feeling that we were going to be able to get it done. And I had a good fallback position because for me it was Roethlisberger. Rivers was good too, but we had Roethlisberger rated second. It wasn't a panic situation for us. I wanted a franchise quarterback, and I figure either way we're going to get one.
Ernie had studied Eli for his entire collegiate career, and he was absolutely confident that Eli's makeup, his personality, his coolness under fire, what he'd accomplished with less as a collegiate quarterback were the ingredients that were necessary for the Giants to go forth and win.
Ben Roethlisberger.
There were other good quarterbacks. Ben has proven to be an exceptional player. And as we sat there, it full well looked as if things would fall to that position for us.
Tom Coughlin calls the night before and says, it doesn't look like this trade's going to be made, and it looks like Ben's our guy. If things sit where they are right now, I think New York will just take you, and that'd be an awesome thing for us. But you and I had talked about and anticipated the fact that Manning would try to get himself somehow to New York. His agents and he want to be in New York for the marketing and all the opportunities. And they don't want to be in San Diego. So now what happens is the reaction of San Diego going to be, well, look, we're going to take you anyway. Or are they going to try and trade out of that position? If they trade out of the position, it's going to be for Phillip Rivers. That's not wonderful for us.
Phillip Rivers from North Carolina State rocketed late up the draft charts. His stock was boosted by his appearance in the Senior Bowl, coached by the San Diego Chargers staff.
I was able to play for them for that week, practice for them. They got to see a little bit how I led in the huddle, how I prepared. So I knew San Diego was a team that had an interest. I didn't know how that would shake out because they had the #1 pick. The New York Giants I worked out for. To me, that was the least of the teams that were interested in the Pittsburgh Steelers. At 11, I felt like, honestly, that's where I was going.
Up next, draft day.
Quarterback from Ole Miss, Eli Manning.
Two days before the 2004 draft, America learned Pat Tillman, who left the Arizona Cardinals to join the Army Rangers, was killed in a firefight in Afghanistan.
What I remember about that weekend, that draft weekend, is the tremendous pall over the entire NFL and really over a big segment of society.
Pat Tillman personified the best values of America and of the National Football League. He made the ultimate sacrifice and gave his life in the service of his country.
Tillman's jersey was displayed proudly. The next uniform shown would not be.
Why don't you want to play for the Chargers?
We're not really giving details right now. We just, we've made our decision, and that's what we're sticking to.
Who's influenced you the most?
It's not really an influence. This was my decision. It was, I wanted to do this. I was not, told to do this. We talked about it, and I thought it was the best idea, so I went with it.
The Chargers call your name when I talk to you after the pick. Will you be wearing a Chargers hat?
I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Good luck, guys. Thanks.
With the first choice in the 2004 NFL Draft, the San Diego Chargers select Eli Manning, cornerback, Mississippi.
You see now, he's getting booed all over the country.
Well, that's what's happened with this scenario here, and that's why Archie hastens, because what's happened is that now Eli is a villain.
Eli Manning's position was not unprecedented. 21 years earlier, John Elway was drafted first overall by the Colts and threatened not to sign. The Colts general manager at the time was Ernie Accorsi. Now, Accorsi was with the Giants, and again, he was looking for a quarterback.
I almost pulled the trigger on a trade to go to 7th with Cleveland, figuring we're not going to get Eli now. We might as well go to 7th because I'm pretty sure we can get Roethlisberger. But at the last second, I heard a rumor that Cleveland was trying to get within closer striking distance to get Eli. It hit me that if I enabled Cleveland to get him, and if I would have stayed there, maybe I would have gotten him. I couldn't live with myself. So I said, no, I'm not going to make this trade. I'll just sit there. If we don't make the trade, I pick Roethlisberger. It's that simple.
The New York Giants are now on the clock.
All right, guys. Guess what? We're in play. It looks like he's locked in number 4. Ben will be going to New York on the 4th pick. Only wait.
The Giants confirmed to us from their draft room that if Phillip Rivers, the quarterback from North Carolina State, was sitting at number 4, there would be discussions with the San Diego Chargers that the Giants would take Rivers and then swap quarterbacks with the Chargers.
But 6 minutes in, there was nothing. No pick, no trade, not even a phone call between A.J. Smith of the Chargers and Accorsi of the Giants.
Ernie, to this day, will tell you that I was not going to place the call. Because if I place the call, that means that he has all the leverage.
Almost at the 7-minute mark exactly, A.J. called and he asked for another player. I was not giving up a pass rusher.
If we didn't get the value we wanted in the trade, we weren't going to do it. And, Eli surely could have elected to sit out for the season, or he could have played, but we were prepared either way.
In the final seconds, a deal was struck, but none of the affected players knew what it was.
With the 4th pick in the 2004 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Phillip Rivers, quarterback, North Carolina State.
When everybody else heard it for the first time, I heard it for the first time. So we were excited. We didn't know how to act because it was kind of like, is this real? I hadn't heard from anyone. Usually you get the phone call from the team. They kind of let you know, hey, we're taking you. I never got that call from the Giants. To this day, I never spoke to anyone. I just knew and felt I was 3rd on their list. But yet at the same time, you wanted to show respect to the Giants. I mean, the New York Giants just selected the 4th pick of the whole draft. About that time, I had to do an interview with ESPN.
What have you been hearing? What are the teams telling you?
Well, I hadn't gotten a call yet from anybody. I'm just excited, as of right now, to be a Giant. And I don't know how everything's going to play out, but I'll be excited to see what happens.
How I found out I was traded to the Giants is I was kind of walking from interview to interview. I saw a little kid just bust through the door. He goes, Manning's been traded to the Giants. I go, is that true? Can anybody follow this up? Is this real, or is this kid just saying it?
San Diego Chargers and the New York Giants have exchanged their draft picks. Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers.
It's real. AJ, you said you needed a blockbuster trade for this to happen to get out of that first slot. What took the deal so long?
Well, we had some dialogue, and it just didn't work out, and I'll just leave it at that. Deal maker was just when the New York Giants kind of surprised us and took Phillip Rivers, a little dialogue took place, and it came together.
Well, we really never had any discussions. Okay. We only had a discussion when they, we decided to pick Rivers, and we had our reasons, sure, we thought maybe, possibly that could interest some clubs. They told me they wanted Rivers. I picked Rivers, but I wouldn't have picked Rivers had I not made the trade. So I took a chance. I mean, I didn't know A.J. real well, but I trusted him, and he lived up to his word. So once I picked Rivers, then I was allowed to make the trade Rivers for Manning. But he could have backed out. I couldn't go to the league and say, wait a minute, he broke a promise. Because what they did, they won't sanction what I did. I mean, it wasn't illegal, but if you want to go, you pick the player. You cannot pick a player for another team. That's not permitted. People still don't understand because they say I drafted Rivers. And I did, literally. But it was Roethlisberger who was the player that we would have picked.
Can you believe Phillip Rivers would actually be the 4th pick in the draft?
And Ben Roethlisberger was still without a team.
The problem with the draft is that That time in between picks is not experienced as real time.
How much time is there on the clock?
8 minutes. It's Chinese water torture time. Drip, drip, drip.
Washington Redskins select Sean Taylor.
Every second seems like a minute. Every minute seems like an hour. Especially sitting in New York under the hot glare of those lights.
The Cleveland Browns select Kellen Winslow.
I know people made a big deal about Aaron Rodgers sitting there till whatever pick he was. I was kind of that first one that was sitting in the room by myself for a long time.
The Detroit Lions select Roy Williams.
At some point, you're like, man, I just want to get picked so I can get out of here and go hang out with my family and do something else.
Atlanta Falcons select D'Angelo Hall.
Tick, tick, tick.
Jacksonville Jaguars select Reggie Williams.
Tick, tick, tick.
The Houston Texans select Dante Robinson.
Eventually we get to Pittsburgh.
The Pittsburgh Steelers are now on the clock.
This is the first spot that to me has been possible for you to go in since we passed the Giants.
Yeah. The Pittsburgh Steelers are on the clock. Roethlisberger could sit, learn behind a Maddox.
Well, and Chris, as you say that, the phone rings right here, and Ben's agent, Leigh Steinberg, is on the phone,
Steelers.
And it happens to be the Steelers.
Hello. Yes. Hey, Coach. Absolutely. All right, Coach, thanks. Take care.
What's the deal?
It's good. Let's turn it in right now.
Yeah! Pittsburgh was the only team that I visited. You know, I think things worked out for me, and everything happens for a reason.
Go Steelers!
Go Steelers!
We're very, very proud of all you've done, and I know all you're going to do. We all wish you the best, and we will all be there for you, no matter what comes, the good and the bad, because both will be coming. But we'll be there for you. So,
and I thank you all too, everybody. Thank you so much.
Coming up, more of the good and the bad from the 2004 NFL Draft.
No venting. I just hate everybody who was drafted ahead of me. No big deal.
Okay, that'll work.
Give it a crack, like straight to the camera on this one.
Robert Gallery, the University of Iowa, 2003 Outland Trophy winner.
Robert Gallery was a small-town Iowa farm boy and the consensus top left tackle in the 2004 draft.
There was a lot of can't-miss talk about Gallery.
They say that you are the sure pick. How does that feel when people talk about you like that?
This is great for me, and it's something I'm never going to forget.
To be honest with you, I was probably on the Gallery bandwagon also. I mean, a lot of us got caught up with this massive left tackle and how dominating he was in college football.
Gallery at Iowa was just your classic Eagle Scout road grader. He was a mauler. And he was country strong.
It's a great feeling, when you can physically dominate someone to knock them into the ground. I get a smile every time I do it.
At the scouting combine, Gallery's stock took off. He ran a 4.98 40, second fastest among the 23 tackles invited. And teams that valued speed took notice.
Robert Gallery, he is one of the best tackles rated in a long time. Up there, Mel, with Tony Pacelli, Jonathan Ogden, Orlando Pace. Do you agree?
Yes, I do. And I think when you look at Robert Gallery, also they say safe pick.
All right. Raiders are taking me.
With the second choice, the Oakland Raiders select Robert Gallery, offensive tackle, Iowa.
Because he had played it at such a high level in college, everybody thought he was a plug-and-play left tackle. And that didn't happen.
From the preseason of his rookie year, it was evident Gallery had trouble handling speed off the edge.
He had average feet, and he only had 32-inch arms. A left tackle in the NFL, they'd like you to have 34-inch plus, or at worst, 33.
In 2007, Raider coaches moved Gallery inside to guard.
Initially, there was an awful lot of conversations out there that this guy's an outright bust.
They moved him into guard because they weren't happy with him at tackle. What does he look like to you?
He looks like he's poorly coached. I think if he was well coached, and I think if he was in the right environment, he should be an all-pro.
He was not a bust. He just was not a good tackle. But he was an above average to very good guard, for several years after the Raiders moved him.
Was there some disappointment from the team that drafted him? Well, of course there was disappointment when you drafted a left tackle. With the second pick of a draft, you expected him to start and play at a high level at that position. But I don't think you can call a guy that kicked inside and played guard for 8 years a bust.
If Robert Gallery had been the 32nd pick in the draft instead of the second, everybody would look at him and say, that's a great career for the 32nd pick in the draft.
In every draft, when you evaluate every one of them, 50% of the first-rounders don't pan out, usually to the level of their talent.
The Buffalo Bills picked J.P. Losman, quarterback from Tulane.
You gave up a lot to get J.P. Losman. You guys must have to think he's really special.
Well, we did.
I love him. In fact, I had him rated above Phillip Rivers.
You're going to have a pretty good amount of busts or guys that were disappointments at the pro level.
50% of these guys will disappoint.
Seattle Seahawks select Marcus Tubbs, defensive tackle, University of Texas.
I think there's a risk factor here with Tubbs unless he picks up the pace just a bit.
You can pick apart any draft.
The Green Bay Packers select Ahmad Carroll, defensive back, Arkansas.
There's no question this guy is a major project.
It's not exact. Nobody bats 1,000.
The Cincinnati Bengals select Chris Perry, running back, University of Michigan.
He was our highest rated running back, and we felt great about him, and really the guy that we kind of had targeted and we were hoping was going to get to us today.
That's just what happens every year.
But for every first-round bust, other players emerge from later rounds to confound the experts.
We'd actually like you to read your scouting report.
Oh, okay. Goodness. Oh, they rated me as a 7th rounder, huh? Weaknesses. Must improve upper body strength. Has marginal speed and is below average athlete. That's awesome. Does not show much closing burst as a pass rusher. Got by with size and natural skill. He was productive in college, but never dominated Division I AA and developmental player. Final grade 2.3.
Out of 10.
Yeah, I would hope whoever was the scouter on this got fired because they're obviously they don't really judge talent. I read stuff like that and it pisses me off just again to think that those people are getting paid to judge me and I'm just trying to prove them all wrong, put them all out of a job.
Jared Allen was a mid-round selection of the Kansas City Chiefs.
We selected him in the 4th round. We thought he would come in and be our immediate long snapper. And he showed us he could do that. But then put him out at defensive end and started watching him play in practice. Pretty soon, our defensive coordinator, Gunther Cunningham, said, we got to start this guy.
A sack by Jared Allen.
It was lucky, but you got to be lucky also in the draft.
In 10 years with the Chiefs and Vikings, Allen racked up 125 sacks, by far the most of any player from the 2004 draft, and 12th best in NFL history.
When people think I can't do something, I use that as motivation to prove everybody wrong, and that's what I've been doing throughout my whole career, is just proving people wrong.
Coming up, a draft day first for one college football powerhouse. At the 2004 NFL Draft, the Mannings weren't the only football family in the spotlight. The Winslows were too.
I truly believe you're only as good as the people around you. So you want to be in a setting where people are great. When we were looking at different colleges for Kellen, and that was Miami, they recruited players who they thought could play on Sundays. Not just Saturdays, but on Sundays.
In the 2003 Fiesta Bowl, the University of Miami lost the national championship to Ohio State. In 2004, the Hurricanes were again beat out by the Buckeyes for the most players ever drafted from one school with 14. The Buckeyes had quantity, but the Hurricane draft class was far better in quality. Leading the way, Winslow. And safety, Sean Taylor.
I'm Sean Taylor, University of Miami, the hardest hitter in the draft.
Name is Kellen Winslow Jr. My goal is to just be the best tight end of all time, change the position, and do something like a Michael Jordan.
Those guys were neck and neck as two of the great players in the draft and two guys that were really the most talented to ever play their positions. And those guys were visiting all the same teams.
One of those teams was the Washington Redskins, who had a new head coach. 3-time Super Bowl champion, Joe Gibbs.
It gives you now a cross off the post and underneath.
25 years earlier, Gibbs was a coordinator in San Diego, where he ran an offense built around Hall of Fame tight end Kellen Winslow Sr.
All right, here we go.
In 2004, Gibbs and the Redskins had the 5th overall pick in the NFL draft.
We go down, the workout in Miami. You have Winslow there, who was a strong consideration for first round. You see Sean work out and all the other athletes at Miami. And you have a real picture of great athletes out on the field. It's not like you have just one person.
Joe Gibbs told me they consciously did not sign a safety or a tight end because they like the two Miami players, but I am told they are leaning heavily toward Winslow at this point. He feels like Kellen Winslow could really put this offense over the top. He says it's the kind of guy he's never had before at this H-back position.
I thought I was going to go to Washington. They told me they were going to take me. I remember the clock being on in Washington was up, and I was like, man, what's taking them so long?
With the 5th pick in the 2004 NFL Draft, the Washington Redskins select Sean Taylor, safety, University of Miami.
They selected Sean, and I was real disappointed.
A lot of people thought that you might go for the offensive player, his teammate Kellen Winslow II. And apparently Winslow has gone on the radio saying that he was upset, that he felt he had been promised he'd be picked here. And then when you guys play each other this year, it's going to be payback time.
Well, I mean, I can understand him, being upset or something. Believe me, nothing was ever said like that.
After Winslow was bypassed by the Redskins, former University of Miami head coach Butch Davis, now with the Cleveland Browns, traded up to select Winslow with the 6th overall pick.
I wasn't that happy. I mean, you could see it on my face. I was thinking Washington lied to me. Just being young, not knowing how it works. I'm a kid from San Diego, used to the sun, and then I go to Miami and then Cleveland. It was just a big shock to me.
Winslow's rookie year ended after only 2 games with a broken leg. After nursing his bad wheel back to health, he hopped on 2 and crashed.
I almost died. I fractured my femur, tore all the ligaments in the knee. I dislocated my kneecap. My kneecap was shattered. I lacerated my liver and kidney. Both my lungs were collapsed. The doctor told me, you're never going to play football again. He told me just like that. And, I started crying, and I was real depressed, suicidal, you know what I mean? And then on top of that, I get staph infection, which people can die from, and careers are ruined.
While Winslow was grounded in Cleveland, Taylor's career was taking off in Washington. By November 2007, he was on his way to becoming one of the best safeties in the game when his life took a tragic turn. During a burglary attempt of his Miami home, Taylor was shot in the leg and died.
Probably one of the more emotional things I ever lived with the football team. I would say the most emotional thing. You just don't dream of something like that happening. I think he would have gone down as one of the greatest players ever in the NFL.
Taylor's promise in the NFL was never fulfilled, but he was still part of history. In 2004, Taylor was the first of a record 6 players drafted in the first round from one school. 4 of the players lasted at least 10 NFL seasons. Winslow was one of them.
I was just talking to Dr. James Andrews the other day, and he said it's remarkable how tough Kellen has been throughout his career overcoming his accident. He's been a Pro Bowl tight end, and he's made a lot of money, and at different times he's been the highest paid player at his position. If Kellen had not gotten hurt, I don't think there's any question he would have had a career that was similar to some of the other great tight ends have accomplished.
Coming up, a player who went undrafted in 2004 and became one of the best in the game. Every draft has an event shrouded in mystery. 2004's was the first-round plummet of running back Steven Jackson.
My free fall started before the draft, actually. 3 days before the draft, New England Patriots decided to trade for Corey Dillon. So right away, right then, my world is flips upside down. From that point, we identified the Detroit Lions. We thought that would probably be the first spot.
The Detroit Lions select Roy Williams.
Then I believe we looked to possibly the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The Pittsburgh Steelers select Ben Roethlisberger.
From there, we thought about the San Francisco 49ers, since my coach was there from college.
Dennis Erickson, who coached him at Oregon State, loves Steven Jackson.
And let's talk.
Philadelphia trying to trade with San Francisco. They traded their pick.
The Eagles 49ers trade.
The Eagles want to get from 28 to 16, perhaps targeting Steven Jackson.
Philadelphia Eagles select Sean Andrews.
After that happened, you know what? I didn't care what happened at that point.
Denver is looking at running back as one of the positions they are trying to improve.
Denver Broncos select DJ Williams.
It was just painful.
Take a look at Steven Jackson. Cannot believe a few moments ago that Denver didn't take him. This is perfect for Bill Parcells, isn't it?
The Dallas Cowboys are now on the clock.
We thought the Dallas Cowboys for sure.
It has to be Steven Jackson. We need a run. Dallas needs a running back.
The Dallas Cowboys was actually my father's favorite team. I was like, what better way to enter the NFL to play for my dad's favorite team?
He would love to play for the Dallas Cowboys.
We all had Dallas Cowboy hats, so we were ready to put them on.
He fits Bill Parcells because he is a nasty runner. He's a downhill runner. Bill Parcells will cater his running game to fit Steven Jackson.
You know, I like that player quite a bit. He kind of reminded me of Otis Anderson, someone that I also liked and had success with. But we also needed volume.
The Cowboys only have 5 picks in this draft, and they have to get more players.
They elected to trade back with the Buffalo Bills.
So we do have a trade.
When they did, it was like a blow to the stomach. I remember dropping my head. I'm sure I probably threw my hat.
Did you see the fans, the Cowboy fans? They were like, oh, what do you mean we trading out of this spot? We need a running back, somebody that can make a difference right now.
You guys went out of the first round when it looked like, well, gee, here's the chance for the running back of your choice.
It was just too tempting. They baited that trap with the cheese that got us when we wanted to get that next year first pick from Buffalo.
The Bills selected J.P. Lossman with the Cowboys pick at 22. 2 picks later, it was Jackson's turn.
With the 24th pick, St. Louis Rams select Steven Jackson.
Steven, we know in physical time it was 4 hours. How long did it seem to you mentally?
The shocker was Dallas, making that trade. So we had no idea, but I'm more than happy to go to St. Louis. I think I'm going to tear the league apart now.
In 10 years with the Rams and Falcons, Jackson rushed for over 10,000 yards, leaving many to wonder about his draft day drop.
That's the million-dollar question from that draft. Look back at Steven Jackson and say, boy, I thought Steven Jackson would be a much higher pick.
And I'm sure that some general managers and some scoutings, kind of regret that 2004 decision.
While running backs slid, wide receivers came off the board in record numbers in the first round of 2004.
Right, you may be part of 8 wide receivers, 7, 8 wide receivers that go in the first round. What's your thought as your position may dominate this draft?
Well, the wide receivers are really good in this draft, and hopefully in 5 or 6 years we'll be compared to the greatest.
There were 7 receivers taken in the first round. Larry Fitzgerald at 3, Roy Williams was 7, Reggie Williams at 9, Lee Evans at 13, Michael Clayton at 15, Mike Jenkins was 29, and Rashawn Woods.
Jesus, is that awful? That's awful. Are you kidding me? That's terrible.
In contrast, Wes Welker went undrafted in 2004. But with the exception of Larry Fitzgerald, has more receptions, yards, and touchdowns than any of the other first-round receivers.
And Simmons throwing to the end zone, touchdown, Wes Welker!
Despite a productive college career, Welker was not among the 32 wide receivers who heard their names called during the draft, one of whom was his own teammate.
I thought maybe there might be a possibility in late rounds that I might get picked, and it never happened. It was a little disappointing, and then the phone calls started coming after that, and basically I was going to San Diego.
Welker signed with the San Diego Chargers as an undrafted free agent.
I remember just making plays in that training camp and some of those preseason games that I'm still kind of shaking my head about.
Welker, touchdown! Good effort for the rookie out of Texas Tech.
Welker made the Chargers' opening day roster and returned 5 kickoffs in their Week 1 game at Houston. After the game, he was cut.
I mean, I was shocked when Coach Schottenheimer brought me in and he's like, all right, well, we're going to release you. You know, we want you to be on practice squad. And I was just kind of like, man, it kind of hurt me and felt like I deserved to be on that team.
Following his release by the Chargers, Welker signed with the Dolphins, where he spent 3 seasons primarily as a third receiver and kick returner.
Welker slips one tackle. He's to the 10, to the 5. Touchdown!
In 2007, the Patriots traded 2nd and 7th round picks for Welker.
In today's NFL, really good quarterbacks learn to value slot receivers.
You open, Wes.
And that's what Tom Brady had with Wes Welker.
You get open.
So that was a marriage made in heaven.
From 2007 to 2012, Tom Brady, a 6th round pick, and the undrafted Welker combined for more receptions than any other passing combo.
I think what Tom and I did in New England kind of shows that the draft can be overrated. You see this freakish athlete, and you got to go with it. So I get it, but at the same time, it's just hard to measure, somebody's heart and work ethic and what they put into it.
He's not big enough, he's not strong enough, he's not fast enough, but he continues to astound.
I've created so many habits from that snub and from being overlooked, and understand that I have to outwork the guy next to me 10 times how he works. And I think that's really just stuck with me through my whole career. As much as I wish I would have gotten drafted, I'm proud of the fact that I took the long road to get here, and it's made the journey that much more fun and fulfilling for me.
Coming up, the biggest things you didn't know about the 2004 draft. Like every NFL draft, the 2004 edition had its share of offbeat stories and trivia.
Marshal Stalin from the top of Lenin's tomb reviews the big parade.
In the 2nd round, San Diego selected the first ever player born in the former Soviet Union, Igor Olshansky from the University of Oregon.
Igor Olshansky.
Ooh.
He's the kid from the Ukraine.
Ukrainian Jew.
A man from the Ukraine.
A Ukrainian Jew.
Born in the Ukraine, Olshansky's parents emigrated to the United States when he was 7. He began playing football his junior year of high school and earned a college scholarship.
Igor Olshansky is just learning this game. He came over from Russia.
The mammoth Olshansky played 8 years in the NFL, but he is by no means the biggest oddity of the 2004 draft. Tipping the scales at 275 pounds, Jared Lorenzen went undrafted out of the University of Kentucky.
Lorenzen sets deep, almost slips. Now he's almost in trouble. Throws it behind his back. Gary Comer out to the 30.
He signed with the Giants as a free agent and backed up Eli Manning for 4 seasons. But perhaps his lasting legacy is generating two of the NFL's all-time great nicknames. The Hefty Lefty and the Pillsbury Throw Boy. In 2014, Lorenzen injured his leg while quarterbacking an Arena Football League team. But his career is by no means the most sizable footnote of the Giants' 2004 draft class.
The Chargers call your name when I talk to you after the pick. Will you be wearing a Chargers hat?
I don't know.
Perhaps no player had to shoulder the weight of expectations more than Chris Snee, who had the unique distinction of being drafted by his future father-in-law.
What are you doing? Let's go!
My phone rang, and it actually turned out to be the Giants, which was unexpected to me. It was a team that I hadn't interviewed with.
Here's Coach Coughlin. Chris.
Yes.
We're going to pick you right here at the top of the second round.
Really?
Yeah. You excited about being a Giant?
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah.
Can you handle it?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Well, that's what's going to happen.
All right.
At the time, Snee was engaged to Kate Coughlin, Tom Coughlin's daughter.
I was upstairs, and I walked downstairs. The place was going crazy, and she was crying.
I'm so proud of you.
The whole father-in-law thing didn't hit me till, honestly, probably till the next morning. I'm talking to Kate and how excited we are, and she said, "Are you ready to answer the questions?" And that's when I kind of, I was like, oh yeah,
Snee comes out of Boston College. Most people figured he's a fourth-round kind of guy. Tom Coughlin, his father-in-law, takes him at the top of the second. And there were people saying, oh, are you kidding me? How can you do that?
How do you separate the football from the personal in making that evaluation?
Chris Snee is an outstanding, proven football player. When it came time to make the decision, it was a football decision.
The only people that get caught up on this whole father-in-law thing are the media. I'm just another guy on this team, and that's the way it's always been, and that's the way I knew it would be based on the type of man he is and the type of man I am.
Yeah, he married the coach's daughter.
Easy.
But why should he be discounted because of that?
Easy.
I look at it kind of the other way. We spend all this time, effort, and money trying to figure out what intangibles a college player has. Who knows him better than his father-in-law? And I would submit that Tom Coughlin got the last laugh. His level of play speaks for itself, and he doesn't have to apologize to anybody ever.
4 Pro Bowls later and 2 Super Bowls later.
Oh, we're number one.
I'd say it's worked out pretty well. Yeah.
We're number one. Put one finger up.
The Giants were also involved in perhaps the most ironic twist of the 2004 draft. Which brings us back to Eli.
Archie was just really determined not to have happened to either of his sons what had happened to him in his career. Archie comes out of Mississippi in 1971, ends up with the Saints, and never really came close to achieving what a lot of people thought he was capable of achieving just because it was a bad environment for quarterbacking. He just didn't want that for either of his kids.
The Manning family thought that the Chargers at the time were a mess, not real solidly run. They felt that it was just a potential quicksand situation.
However, it can be argued that the supposedly dysfunctional Chargers had the best draft of any team in 2004, coming away with an impressive haul of productive NFL starters. The following year, the Manning-Rivers trade kept giving.
In 2005, we ended up with an extra first-round pick as well as an extra fifth-round pick. With that, we ended up with Sean Merriman, and then we traded our fifth-round pick to Tampa for Roman Oben. So from 2004, for the next 6 years, we won the AFC West 5 times out of those 6 years. So I think looking back, that was a good deal for us.
Who got the better quarterback on draft day always has been and always will be fodder for debate, which is perhaps why so many football fans find it so enjoyable to be caught in the draft.
I think that's probably why people love and enjoy the draft so much. It is something that you cannot predict.
Well, I think we came out very well, obviously taking Darling in the 3rd round.
It's human beings evaluating human beings.
Adding Roy Williams to the mix, we were trying to give Joey Harrington a supporting cast.
And at the end of the day, no human beings are perfect.
I really think that we've really helped the Dallas Cowboys.
In the end, the only thing certain about the draft is that for the last 50 years, it has continued to grow.
The Steelers were truly the model of the 70s.
With or Boomer? I mean, is he going to go in the first round at all?
Who in the hell is Mel Kiper?
The New York Giants have a Manning.
From a backroom business meeting on a Saturday afternoon, the NFL draft has evolved into a full-scale, prime-time extravaganza.
Thank you to all the fans here in Radio City and those of you watching around the world. Everybody's all excited. So here we go. With the first pick, the Houston Texans select